You didn't find this by accident. This message must be meant for you or someone you know. Imagine sitting on a plane completely unaware that in less than 60 seconds your life is about to split into a before and after moment forever. Headphones in, seatbelt on, normal conversation, normal takeoff. Then suddenly the plane slams into something, smoke starts rising. People begin screaming, and the pilot says words that instantly drain the blood from everyone's face. We just hit somebody. And this is where the story becomes emotionally disturbing. Because while terrified passengers were sliding down emergency chutes trying to survive, one human being outside that aircraft had already lost their life. Both sides think they're right. Some people are blaming the airport. Others blame the airline. Others are asking how someone ended up on the runway at all. But here's the part almost nobody slows down long enough to ask: how quickly does fear turn human beings into headlines instead of souls? Because what the Torah, Gospel, and Quran reveal about fear, responsibility, death, and the value of human life feels painfully relevant right now. A Frontier Airlines plane in Denver was preparing for takeoff when it reportedly struck a person on the runway. Moments later, passengers inside the aircraft faced another terrifying situation when an engine caught fire, forcing an emergency evacuation down inflatable slides. Videos spread across social media almost immediately. People carrying bags, smoke rising near the aircraft, parents holding children, confusion everywhere. And this is where the story gets complicated, because there are actually two tragedies happening at the same time. One tragedy is visible, terrified passengers trying to escape danger, but the other tragedy is quieter. A person lost their life on that runway, and most people online immediately began arguing before even asking who that person was. This is the part that should make us pause. Because modern culture moves fast. Fast outrage, fast blame, fast opinions, but slow compassion. And here's what people might be missing. Every single person in this story woke up that morning expecting an ordinary day. Nobody planned for trauma. Nobody planned for death. Nobody planned to become viral footage online. Yet in one moment, dozens of lives changed forever. Some passengers may never feel safe flying again. Some workers may carry guilt or trauma for years. And somewhere tonight, a family is grieving someone who never came home. And this is where faith steps in. Here's what's interesting. Judaism constantly reminds people that human life is sacred beyond measurement. In Genesis 1-27, the Torah says, "So God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them." That verse sounds simple until something tragic happens. Because if every human being carries the image of God, then no person is disposable. Not passengers, not workers, not strangers. Not even the person whose death becomes buried under headlines about evacuations and airline safety. And this might challenge how people see this story, because the Torah does not allow people to reduce human beings to statistics. In Deuteronomy 16:20 it says, "Justice and only justice you shall pursue." Not convenience, not public relations, justice, which means systems that protect life matter deeply. Airport safety matters. Human accountability matters. Protecting workers matters. Protecting travelers matters. But here's where the truth becomes uncomfortable. Justice without compassion becomes cold. And compassion without responsibility becomes dangerous. Judaism pushes both together, responsibility and mercy, structure and humanity. Now here's where the gospel gets emotionally difficult, because Jesus constantly focused on people society overlooked during moments of chaos. In Matthew 25-40, Jesus says, "Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Think about that for a second. What if God measures humanity by how we treat frightened people during crisis? What if the real test is not how calm we are when life feels safe, but who we become when fear enters the room? Because fear changes people fast. Panic spreads fast. Self-preservation takes over fast. And yet Christianity keeps pulling people back toward compassion, toward dignity, toward seeing human beings instead of obstacles. Here's another verse people may not expect. Philippians 2:4 says, "Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others." That sounds beautiful, until survival fear kicks in. Because it's easy to talk about caring for others until smoke fills a cabin and panic hits your nervous system. This is where it starts to feel personal. Christianity is not asking whether fear is real. Fear is real. Trauma is real. But the deeper question is this: when fear takes over, does your humanity disappear with it? And this is where Islam brings another powerful layer into the conversation. The Quran repeatedly teaches that saving and protecting human life is one of the highest moral responsibilities. In Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:32 it says, "Whoever saves one life, it is as if he has saved all of humanity." Not some humanity, all humanity. That means every system designed to protect life matters spiritually. Pilots, emergency crews, ground workers, medics, evacuation teams. These are not just jobs. In many ways, they become acts of moral responsibility. But here's the part people may overlook. Islam also speaks strongly about panic, fear, and how humans treat one another during crisis. Surah Al-Hujurat 49-11, "O you who have believed, let not a people ridicule another people. Perhaps they may be better than them. Nor let women ridicule other women. Perhaps they may be better than them. And do not insult one another, and do not call each other by offensive nicknames. Wretched is the name of disobedience after one's faith. And whoever does not repent, then it is those who are the wrongdoers." Here, the Quran warns people not to humiliate or degrade one another. Why does that matter here? Because when tragedy goes viral, society often becomes emotionally numb. People start treating suffering like content. They argue before they grieve. They joke before they reflect. They consume tragedy instead of sitting with it. And this is where the mirror turns toward us. Because maybe the deeper issue is not just what happened on that runway, but what constant exposure to chaos is doing to the human heart. So now step back and look at what all three faiths are pointing toward together. Judaism says human life carries the image of God. Christianity says caring for vulnerable people is tied directly to God Himself. Islam says saving one life reflects the value of all humanity. Different traditions, same warning. Human beings are sacred. But here's the part that becomes emotionally heavy. Modern society is getting dangerously good at normalizing trauma. Every week there's another disaster, another emergency landing, another shooting, another war, another viral tragedy. And people are exhausted, spiritually exhausted, emotionally exhausted, mentally overwhelmed. This is where things stop being black and white, because some people respond to fear by becoming more compassionate. Others respond by becoming colder, more suspicious, more emotionally shut down. And this is where the deeper spiritual battle may actually be happening, not just around planes or airports or emergencies, but inside the human heart itself. It's easy to be compassionate until it costs you something, until fear enters the situation, until anxiety becomes personal, until survival instincts take over. But here's what the loudest voices may be missing. Compassion is not weakness. Mercy is not weakness. Slowing down long enough to remember someone's humanity is not weakness. In a fearful world, it may actually be one of the strongest things left. So tonight, ask yourself something honestly. If you had been on that plane, who would you have become in that moment? Calm? Panicked? Selfless? Angry? Frozen? And if you were the family of the person who died on that runway, what would you want the world to remember about them? because this is the part that matters most. Not just what happened, but what this reveals about us. About fear, about modern life, about how fragile everything really is. 1 second you're preparing for takeoff. The next second your entire reality changes. That truth should humble all of us. And maybe that's why stories like this hit people so deeply. Because underneath the smoke, the evacuation, and the headlines is a terrifying realization. None of us are fully in control. Life is fragile. Human beings are fragile. And every person around you is carrying fears, grief. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. And head over to our YouTube page for more content like this.